MARPAT is a digital camouflage pattern in use with the United States Marine Corps, introduced with the Marine Corps Combat Utility Uniform, which replaced the Camouflage Utility Uniform. Its design and concept are based on the Canadian CADPAT pattern. The pattern is formed of small rectangular pixels of color. In theory, it is a far more effective camouflage than standard uniform patterns because it mimics the dappled textures and rough boundaries found in natural settings. It is also known as the digital pattern, or digicamis, because of its micropattern rather than the old macro pattern. The United States government has patented MARPAT, including specifics of its manufacture. By regulation, the pattern and items incorporating it, such as the MCCUU and ILBE backpack, are to be supplied by authorized manufacturers only and are not for general commercial sale, although imitations are available such as digital woodland camo or digital desert camo. MARPAT was also chosen because it distinctively identifies its wearers as Marines to their adversaries, while simultaneously helping its wearers remain concealed. This was demonstrated by a Marine spokesman at the launch of MARPAT, who stated, "We want to be instantly recognized as a force to be reckoned with. We want them to see us coming a mile away in our new uniforms." As such, the U.S. Marine Corps restricts use of the camouflage, preventing its use in most other divisions of the United States military. Development. The concept of using miniature swatches of color as opposed to large splotches is not new. In World War II, German troops used various patterns similar to the current German Flecktarn, which involved similar small dabs of color on a uniform to provide camouflage. The Canadian forces originally developed the pattern, called CADPAT, and provided samples to the United States. The USMC design team in charge of this process went through over 150 different camo patterns before selecting 3 samples that met their initial objectives. These were 2 versions of Tiger Stripe and an older design of Rhodesian brushstroke. The influence of Tiger Stripe can still be seen in the final MARPAT. These 3 samples were then reconstructed using new shapes and unique color blends that would allow a more effective uniform in a great range of environments. The new patterns were then field tested in different environments, day and night, with night vision and various optics. MARPAT did exceptionally well in their wet uniform test when viewed with night vision while illuminated with IR, where normally patterns appear as a solid. The MARPAT patent lists U.S. Army research into fractal pattern camouflage as the basis for MARPAT. The MARPAT pattern was chosen in a runoff against 7 other patterns at the USMC Scout Sniper Instructor School. Field testing of MARPAT and the MCCUU began in 2001. The patent for the MARPAT pattern was filed on June 19, 2001, whereas the patent for the MCCUU uniform was filed on November 7, 2001. The uniform made its official debut at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina on January 17, 2002, and the changeover was completed on October 1, 2004. A year ahead of the original requirement date set in 2001, of October 1, 2005. The MARPAT uniform was officially launched as standard issue to the recruits of 3rd BNMI Company in 2002 at MCRD San Diego and continues to be the standard issue to date. Design and colors. Different ratios and variations of colors were tested before final candidate patterns were actually printed to textile for field trials. A modified version of Vietnam Tiger Stripe also made it to final trials but was eliminated due to MARPAT being superior in all environments. The purpose of the digitized pattern is to create visual noise and prevent the eye from identifying any visual templates. Thus, the pattern is intended to not register as any particular shape or pattern that could be distinguished. When compared to a white background, the Marpat does look surprising and would seem to catch attention, but when used in an operative environment, its textured appearance and lack of hard edges make it more effective than traditional patterns. There were initially 3 Marpat patterns tested: woodland, desert, and urban. Only the woodland and desert patterns were adopted by the Marine Corps, replacing the U.S. woodland pattern and the U.S. 3-color desert pattern. Webbing and equipment worn with Marpat woodland and Marpat desert is produced in coyote brown, a mid-tone color common to both the woodland and desert patterns. Although a digital snow pattern has also been adopted on cold weather training overgarments, this uses a different pattern from the Canadian company Hyperstealth. Authentic Marpat material is distinguishable by an eagle, globe, and anchor emblem incorporated into the pattern, in both the woodland and desert patterns. Similar designs. Marpat is similar to Canadian Forces CADPAT, which was first developed in the 1990s. The United States Army has used the same shapes into its digital universal camouflage pattern Army Combat Uniform. ACU's pattern differs in that it uses a much paler 3-color scheme of sage green, gray and sand. The United States Air Force has designed its own airman battle uniform using a standard tiger stripe pattern and slight variation on the color scheme of ACU. The United States Navy announced approval for a digital BDU-style work uniform in late 2008. The Navy working uniform was chosen by surveyed sailors for consistency and longer life, while the blue-gray-black Type 1 pattern was designed for aesthetic purposes rather than camouflage to disguise them at sea. In January 2010, the Navy began considering new Navy working uniform patterns modified from Marpat, named Type 2 and Type 3, Desert and Woodland respectively. The woodland pattern was actually an earlier coloration of the Marpat scheme, not adopted following USMC trials. These patterns are overall darker than their respective Marpat progenitors, modified with different color shades, and addressed the fact that the blue and gray Type 1 pattern was not meant for a tactical environment. Backlash from Marines, including an objection from former Commandant Conway, led to restrictions when a Navy ADMIN 374-09 was released. Type 2 pattern to naval special warfare personnel, while Type 3 is restricted to Navy ground units. Gallery. Marpat Desert Pattern. 2001 Prototype of the Marpat Woodland Pattern. 2001 Prototype of the Marpat Desert Pattern. 2 generals wearing woodland Marpat at a ceremony. Near-infrared comparison of a Navy working uniform blouse to Marpat trousers. Marpat compared to NWU Type 2 and Type 3 prototypes. An Iraqi police officer wears a unique blue and gray variant. Air Marshal Farhad Al-Amir, the Chief of Staff of the Kuwaiti Armed Forces, speaks to Marines of the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit wearing a camouflage similar to Marpat. Camouflage comparison between a Singaporean guardsman and a U.S. Marine.